Hi, how's it going, guys? This isn't my normal intro that I do for these episode reviews, and it's for good reason, because episode 111 of Pokemon Journeys is a stellar episode. I normally reserve my opinions for the end, towards the end of the video, but this episode was so good. It is the best Journeys episode to date, and one of the best Pokemon episodes ever created. This is something that I was afraid of going into this episode, or going into the Journeys, because since Journeys was bringing back older characters, I knew that inevitably this would come up. Lillie finding her father, Mohn. And I was kind of afraid at how it would go, but after today's episode, all those fears were squashed, because this episode was fantastic. So yeah, not my normal intro to a video, but it has to be said. So I guess let's talk about the episode, and I'll tell you about all the things I loved in this episode later on. But yep, you guys know the drill. If you're new to the channel, like this type of content, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I cover the Pokemon Journey series. I do episode reviews. I talk about upcoming episodes. I do live streams. Yeah, that type of stuff. So if you hit that subscribe button, that would be pretty cool if you would do that. But anyways, let's talk about this episode now. So after learning about a mysterious Pokemon being sighted in the Galar region and the Crown Tundra by Professor Sakuragi, Ash, Go, and Koharu set off there. And at the same time, Lillie and her family are actually heading that way as well, as that Magearna is pinpointing Mohn's location. And that's where it's pointing to, so they're heading to the same location at the same time. Very convenient. Anywho, the following day, Magearna is pointing towards this old dirty house in the Crown Tundra, so Lillie runs off and ends up running into her father, essentially meeting him for the first time since she was a baby when Mohn was abducted, so she never really got to know her father. Unfortunately, the family here gets some devastating news. It appears that Mohn has lost his memory, as he doesn't recognize any of them. But he actually invites them in for tea, because he's such a swell guy. Despite getting this devastating news, they accept his kind offer and head into the house. As they're speaking to Mohn, he actually mentions that he actually has his own daughter that's also named Lillie, that's in the other room playing piano, similar to how Lillie was playing piano at the beginning of this episode. They go to meet his quote-unquote daughter, also named Lillie, and it turns out to be a shiny Nihilego, which immediately triggers everybody, considering that Lillie was almost abducted herself by one, and Lusamine was also abducted and then turned into Mother Beast Lusamine. And initially they try to attack it, but Lusamine stops Gladion, as this Nihilego was actually not trying to attack them, and ends up running off. So obviously something is definitely off here. Not only has Mohn lost his memories, but he thinks this shiny Nihilego is his daughter Lillie, and he doesn't even seem to realize that this is not even a human, it's an Ultra Beast. He thinks it's his daughter, Lillie. So yeah, Lusamine is still trying to convince Mohn that he is her husband and that's his children. Well, Lillie and Gladion do some investigating, and they seem to discover that there's a lot of mirrors that are missing throughout the house. It's obviously very dirty in there, and you can't really get any sunlight with all the dirt on the windows. But the mirrors are missing as well. And actually, Lillie comes across his clothes and also finds a mirror that's stored away in a drawer in a room in that house. And the Nihilego is actually spying on Lillie. Meanwhile, Ash and the others are exploring the Crown Tundra. They're trying to find the mysterious Pokemon. It seems like Pikachu here is caught onto someone's scent and starts running to the old house in the distance. And Ash and the others follow suit. Lillie opens the windows, finds her father's clothes in the mirror, and that's when the Nihilego actually tries to attack Lillie in seemingly a fit of jealousy. And before it can actually strike Lillie, Pikachu jumps in, saves the day, and saves Lillie. Seems like Pikachu has saved Lillie quite a few times. Did so a few times on Sun and Moon and did so here in Journeys, as Ash and Lillie have been reunited. Also, Gladion happens to stumble across Ash here, so Ash also reunites with Gladion as well. And Koharu and Go actually meet Lillie and Gladion for the first time here. But anyways, they put their evidence together. They pretty much put 2 and 2 together, and they head to the other room, which it seems like the Shiny Niligo is actually in the other room spying on Mohn and Lusamine, and actually attempts to attack Lusamine. And that's when Gladion saves the day and actually ends up saving her. So this is actually what happened to Mohn. So when he was dragged into the Ultra Wormhole, he actually ended up in that dimension that Lusamine was in. You know, when she turned into the Mother Beast Lusamine, the end of the Aether arc in the Sun and Moon series. Yeah, that dimension. Apparently he ended up here, and actually almost fell to his death, based on where he was fallen from, where he appeared at. But a nearby Shiny Niligo actually ended up saving him. And it actually dragged him into a nearby wormhole, which, instead of taking him back to the Lolo region, it took him to the Galar region and the Crown Tundra. And as he's murmuring Lillie to himself, it seems like the Shiny Niligo actually saw some of his memories and seemingly robbed him of his memories, and assumed the form of his daughter, based off of his memories. So all these years, he ended up assuming that this Shiny Niligo was his daughter Lillie. And since this Shiny Niligo grew attached to Mohn, it didn't want to leave and realized that if Mohn actually saw a reflection of himself, his memories would return. So the house was always kept dirty, so he wouldn't be able to see himself in the reflections. All the mirrors were hidden away so he wouldn't see himself, so that they wouldn't be separated. Upon seeing himself in a mirror, Mohn's memories all come back to him in a flash, and he remembers everything, remembering his family. He then addresses them, which brings Lusamine to tears, as Mohn has finally returned to them, and their long journey to find him has finally come to an end. Upon seeing this, the Shiny Niligo is heartbroken and goes to leave. However, Lillie stops it, asking it to join them. They've obviously bonded with this Pokemon, and even though it's an Ultra Beast, it's a very kind one, even though it did kind of try to attack Lusamine and Lillie earlier, but it did it out of jealousy, not wanting to separate from Mohn. But the Shiny Niligo is touched, and the family catch it in a beast ball, with Gladion taking it under his care, as the episode comes to an end. Oh boy. I bet you all were waiting for this part in the video. But this episode is phenomenal. Everything about it is great. I don't even mind that Ash, Go, and Koharu are here, even though they didn't contribute a whole lot. It doesn't matter because their involvement in this episode doesn't affect the main plot and my main feelings towards this episode. And technically they're here to lead into the next episode, which is going back to Alola with Lillie returning back home. But man, this episode, it is, in my opinion, one of the best Pokemon episodes ever. And I mean that. It is up there with the best Pokemon episodes. But anywho, there are so many things to like about this episode, and where do I begin? Well, I guess the first thing I can mention here is that the flashbacks utilized in this episode were phenomenal. All of them. I wasn't expecting them to show every main flashback here. Like, they showed Mohn discovering Magearna, Lillie being a baby, you know, all those scenes from the past. And then we had the scene, of course, when Lillie was almost abducted by the Niligo, and then Lusamine turning into Mother Beast Lusamine. They did those flashbacks too. I wasn't expecting that, but they weaved it all into this episode, and they did it perfectly, in my opinion. The flashbacks just worked out perfectly. And it just worked out in the whole narrative within this episode. But I liked a lot of the symbolism within this episode. Like, the whole house being dirty, you couldn't really see inside of it or outside of it unless you open a window or a door or something like that, reflecting that Mohn has lost his memories. Everything's gone dark. But towards the end of the episode, he regains his memories, and as he regains his memories and the Shiny Niligo joins them, the dirt that's on the windows, dirt, dust, whatever it is, starts withering away, and the sunlight is piercing through, symbolizing that Mohn has regained his memories and reunited with his family. That was actually some good symbolism there. I thought that was really well executed, and I just love what they did there with that. Also, this episode looked insanely good. You can tell they put a lot of care into this episode, not only in the writing department, but in the animation and art style department. Like a scene that isn't super important in the episode where Ash has Pikachu use Iron Tail to save Lillie. That whole sequence is animated beautifully. And then the whole scene towards the end of the episode with the sunlight piercing in and the two Lillies, talking with one another, with Lillie inviting the Shiny Niligo to join them. That looks so good! Like, you can just tell that they knew that this episode needed to be special, so they put extra care into this one. And they made it absolutely special, and they just nailed it on all fronts. But I just have to say, I am just happy that this character arc got a satisfying conclusion. With Journeys, the character returns have been hit and miss, let's be honest. Some characters came back for the worst, some characters came back and it improved upon them, like Serena, for example, and Iris. But this was something that I knew needed to be well executed. If it wasn't well executed, I was going to be very disappointed. But I can happily say that this was just phenomenal. This was just perfectly done, in my opinion. I couldn't be any happier. So I have to thank every single person that was involved in the making of this episode. In fact, everybody that was involved in the making of this arc. From the first episode focusing on Mohn's disappearance back in Sun and Moon about 3 years ago, to the episode right before the end of Sun and Moon when it showed baby Lillie learning how to walk and, Lillie discovering Magearna and them setting off. And then leading up to this point where they reunite with their father. I just want to thank every single person that was involved in the making of this storyline within the Pokemon series. Thank you. It was definitely a joy to watch, and I loved every moment of it. The best parts, some of the best moments in Sun and Moon involved this storyline. So I'm very happy with how this ended up. And with that said, I'm going to end up the episode review here, so. Perfect episode. In my opinion, this is the best Journeys episode to date. Perfect 10 out of 10 episode. Just an all-around great episode, in my opinion. Satisfying conclusion to this character arc, and I highly recommend checking this episode out. And I also recommend checking out the episodes in Sun and Moon leading up to this episode. And also the other Lillie, Gladion, and Lusamine focus episodes. Just to get the full story, the full picture. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for this episode review. So in the comment section down below, I would love to hear your thoughts. Did you love this episode? Did you hate this episode? What do you think about the conclusion to this story arc? Was it satisfying? Was there anything you'd like to see done better? Or what? Whatever opinions you have, just post them in the comment section down below. If you're new to the channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And have a great day or night wherever you're at. And I'll see you all later. Peace.